Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about right there. Perfect. Of course. A little Ronnie James Dio, Holy Diver, for my intro to the inaugural episode of Metalhead Michael. Hope everybody's doing well. Oh yeah. Can't get enough of that, folks. So I've listened to all my political shows this morning. Looked at all the nasty weather outside, and I figured, well, this is a great time to get an inaugural episode in. Thank you, Ronnie James Dio. Appreciate that. Good bumper music. Anyways, folks, welcome. You might hear my dog barking in the background, but she gets a little anxious every time somebody walks down the hallway. Stop it. Shush it. I am on right now. Do you mind terribly? Folks, welcome to Metalhead Michael, episode number 1. I am on Blue Sky for right now, just to let you guys know. I'm trying that platform as a kind of a test trial and so forth. I will have every inclination to expand into X and Instagram, but I want to give Blue Sky kind of the inaugural trial error, if you will. Just I like Blue Sky. I signed up for Blue Sky a while back, and I just wanted to haven't had an opportunity to put any of my other stuff that I do on social media platforms on the Blue Sky. So I wanted to try this with Metalhead Michael. So I am only on Blue Sky and, of course, my YouTube channel, as you guys all know. So we'll go from there. How about that? Folks, I want to talk to you about some of the shows I'm going to. I kind of touched base on this on my introductory episode, and I have a huge growing list of shows for 2025, and I'm trying not to miss any opportunity to go to shows this year. I had to kind of pick and choose last year because of finances and so forth and just the cost of everything, but things are kind of panning out in that regard. So check this out. These are some of my shows for 2025. I have Whitechapel coming up next month, kind of a deathcore metal band. There's a couple of very significant reasons why I want to go see this band. One of which is just because one of my first mosh pit experiences, almost longer than that, almost 15 years ago, one of my very first mosh pit experience in a Mayhem festival, I believe Ozfest has come and gone by that time. And I believe it was a Mayhem festival in Washington, D.C., 2012, maybe 2013. I think it was 2012, was Whitechapel. And I just had the greatest time of my life. It was the middle of the dead summer, heat, 100-degree weather. I just remember, I have video of it somewhere on my YouTube channel, I think, that documents all my concerts, and I just had a great time. So there's another significant reason why I want to see Whitechapel. It's very personal, and I will deal with that and talk about that and expand on that a little later as the concert date comes and I analyze the show when I go. It's at the Ritz in Raleigh, by the way, which is a great venue. Small, maybe fits about 300-400 people, but I do like the Ritz a lot. So they're playing at the Ritz. That's the first show I'm going to in 2025. The next one kind of expands out. The rest of these shows, some of them are at the Ritz on a local level, but most of these shows expand out to a kind of arena atmospheres, which is what I also wanted to talk about later on down the road here. I'm going to Disturbed after Whitechapel. Then I will be seeing Machine Head with Lacuna Coil. That's also at the Ritz. Ice Nine Kills, which is a great band. I love Ice Nine Kills. I love their whole concept album approach, their concept band approach, and I just love the music in the band. They are playing like a 2-night special. I don't know. I want to get like y'all's feedback on how what y'all feel about that, how that's going to go over They're doing 2 nights in a row at each venue they go to. They're playing like Horrorville, whatever, the first night, and then the next night they're playing like another kind of a concept. It's a 2-night kind of a concept aspect of things. You guys think that's going to work? Do you think it's going to flop? Because of all these shows that I'm going to, I only have tickets to the first night show, which I unapologetically and purposely purchased. So I just want to see how they bring it to the first night show. I'm not going to go to this. I'm not going to be able to make it to the second one. As of now, I might later on decide to go to the second show, but I'm only going to the first show for right now. But that's Ice Nine Kills. After Machine Head and Lacuna Coil. After that, I'm seeing Linkin Park. You have to be a fool to think that I'm going to miss this show, this tour, especially with the new lead singer for Linkin Park. I'm definitely going to that show. I just love the aspect of the fact that when they first came out with Emily as the new lead singer, everybody jumped on the bandwagon and trashed her, criticized. Nothing but just criticism all over social media. And I was one of those people who said, wait just a second, take a step back. Let's see what she can bring. They, of course, toured Korea overseas first when they came out with their new album and the new lead singer, and now they're moving into the United States. And you're seeing this whole change of face with people and the whole angle that they're taking towards Linkin Park and their music. And I'm kind of sitting back saying, see, I told you so. You got to give people a chance. And the backlash kind of aspect from this whole thing about her not being worthy to replace Chester Bennington is kind of taken over right now. And she has proven herself to be pretty doggone worthy, if you ask me, with these incredible, like, record-breaking screams that she's got. Folks, if you haven't checked out From Zero yet, which is their new album with Emily, the new lead singer, then you're really doing yourself a disservice to heavy metal music or hard rock in general. I don't know. I know Linkin Park's not considered like heavy metal and everything, but I think they're an incredible band. They're an incredible live band. I've seen Chester Bennington going and Linkin Park going all the way back to Hybrid Theory on the Ozfest. Folks, yes, that's how old I am. On one of the very first Ozfests, actually, when Hybrid Theory first came out, 2000. Nobody knew who these people were, and they came out and they just blew everyone away. They were something to be reckoned with back then, and people were like stood up and took notice to Hybrid Theory, for sure. I remember that show in Washington, D.C. very well. So that's one of the shows I'm catching. I'm definitely not missing that show. I don't care how many days off of work I have to take, but I'm not missing that show. I'm also seeing Ghost. Let me tell you something about Ghost. Ghost is an exceptional band that came out of nowhere with their album the year, I think it was 2013, 2014, where they won the Grammy. And I loved the fact that they showed up at the Grammys just in full regalia, full Ghost regalia, and they won. They won. They came up on stage and they said, "We're Ghost. We're Satan worshipers. So more power to us. Thank you very much." Took their award, walked off, and continued to just conquer the world ever since. And that was Malaria, I think that was the album that won that Grammy. And they've just come out with some really kick-ass stuff, and they have grown. It was a couple of years after that I went with my concert partner to the show at the Ritz. And we thought when we bought tickets, we thought to ourselves, that nobody's into Ghost. We love Ghost. We'll go there. We'll just show up and have a good time and everything. We showed up and the place was sold out. There was like 400 people at that show. They had oversold tickets actually to the show because so many people wanted to see Ghost, and it was one of the best live shows I have ever seen. And people, the great thing about it was the camaraderie. As you will often hear me talk about in concerts and so forth, the camaraderie of the people that showed up for that show in full Ghost regalia. I have some pictures of people, just Ghost freaks that I took. One of them was dressed up as he had Papa Emeritus's running all over the place, and I tried to get as many pictures as I could in addition to enjoying the show and so forth. And their merch, their Ghost's merch is like collect everything they come out with is like a collector's item that's unique. I have like hoodies with bat wings. I have little Papa Emeritus dolls and so forth. They have a humongous merch thing that they do that has really grown since their beginning. And that's half the fun of going to the shows as far as I'm concerned. But they have expanded from local nightclubs and festivals, which I'll talk about next, into arena rock. They are headlining arena shows for 2025. And again, you'd be a fool if you think I'm going to miss that. The last show I've got on my agenda is Shinedown. I think that's later on, way on down the line in September, October maybe. But yeah, Shinedown is a great band album-wise. You know, I can name a lot of better bands when they come out with studio releases than Shinedown, but live performances, I've seen Shinedown 2 or 3 times live, and they are an incredible live band. So you don't want to miss that. Pick up that ticket for sure. The last time I saw them was at locally was at the Red Hat, the amphitheater here in the Raleigh region, where my hometown is, if you will. So yeah, and that was an incredible show. They're just a good live band, Shinedown. So don't miss tickets for that, for sure. In addition to everything else that I'm going to, and I have 9 Inch Nails, which is also coming to the local arena here. It's called the Lenovo. It used to be called PNC over by NC State. My alma mater. Thank you very much. Go Pack. And I am trying to get tickets to that for sure, in addition to everything else that I'm going to see that I've listed. The 9 Inch Nails is going to be contingent upon my schedule. I can definitely lay down some money to get a ticket for that. I'm trying to. They're Hall of Famers. Trent Reznor, you know, he provided a really great speech upon his induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I definitely want to see 9 Inch Nails. I've seen him maybe twice before. Once that really stood out, I saw him with a Perfect Circle, and that was not in their best light. Half of the audience left after a Perfect Circle played, but that was in Maynard's kind of peak with Perfect Circle. So can't hold that too much against 9 Inch Nails. I stayed for 9 Inch Nails. But I would like to see that show just to see what Trent can bring in his Hall of Fame years, for sure. So that's one that's on my agenda still to add to everything else. All right. Having said that, I want to get into a discussion, which was the topic of this episode of Metalhead Michael, about festivals versus arena rock. And festivals, let me tell you something about festivals. I started going to Ozfests, golly, back in 1998 was my very first Ozfest. And I went every year consecutively until they did away with it, quite frankly. I think in 99, I missed Ozfest, but I saw the spin-off tours with Godsmack, Drain STH, and of course Black Sabbath, because he was still kind of touring with Black Sabbath. After that, I saw Ozfest every single year. I got all the ticket stubs and the programs to prove it. And then kind of Mayhem Festival took over that kind of light as Ozzy kind of started touring less, started to have health issues and so forth. And then from Mayhem Festival, they had in my region what's called Carolina Rebellion, which replaced Mayhem Festival. They just kind of winded that down and brought it to an end. So, and then of course, you know, as 2020 hit, COVID was an issue, right, with concerts all across the board, especially when you have 100,000, 120,000 people getting together for a 3-day festival. And you have a global pandemic. You simply cannot have stuff like that. So, the 3-day festival thing kind of shut down. But before that is what I wanted to talk about, and of course, also the shutdown leading us to where we are today. There were signs that the 3-day festival was having issues in and of itself. This is kind of my take on the whole thing. There were signs that the 3-day festival thing, like Mayhem, Ozfest, Carolina Rebellion, had kind of lost its oomph, kind of lost its punch, for the buck. Fans started to realize that it just simply wasn't worth it. You were gambling on the weather. It wasn't worth it for as far as finance, travel finances, lodging finances, merch and spending finances were concerned. And these are concerns and variables that I started to consider as we approached 2020. Okay. And in 2019, I went to the Carolina Rebellion. No, not the Carolina Rebellion. It was called, by that point, it was called Epicenter, right? So they had changed it already a couple times. Mayhem Festival, Carolina Rebellion. Now we're at Epicenter. Excuse me, I got to take a sip of my beer. So at this point in time, it was called Epicenter, right? It was still kind of I think Epicenter was kind of like a one and done. I don't know if it was a traveling aspect like Ozfest or Mayhem or Carolina Rebellion was. But we went to Epicenter. Me and my concert partner went to Epicenter. Okay. This was held at Rockingham. So right off the bat sends a big, huge red flag. Rockingham Speedway. That whole area is incompatible with NASCAR races in and of itself, much less inviting 100,000, 120,000 people for a 3-day heavy metal concert festival, right? First day, traffic nightmare, got to the show. Great first day for shows and so forth. Second day, traffic nightmare still. You had to basically camp out at Pinehurst. Right, if you went beyond that and tried to camp out at Rockingham, there's nothing in Rockingham. There's literally nothing there. There's like a 40-foot two-way lane that runs through the speedway, right? And that's it. That's where US 1 comes to an absolute minimal amount of space and road, right? So everybody basically knew it was going to be a traffic nightmare. But by the second day, heavy storm came through. It was a nightmare. We sat there at the intersection waiting for word. We finally all got a tweet at the same time. So we go back to our cars, and to make a long story short, it was about 2.5, 3 hour wait to get out of the parking lot just to go home. I think we called it by that time. I don't think we went to the third day, actually. I'm not sure. I can't even remember. But that was where I started to realize that you're not getting the biggest bang for your buck as far as festivals are concerned, right? Then, as we all know, COVID hit. Okay, so COVID is shut everything down as far as rock and roll is concerned. Any kind of concerts, any kind of shows, especially heavy metal, and heavy metal in particular took a big, huge hit, right? So we're all struggling and waiting to come out of COVID and to get touring back on the show. I remember the first show I went to was Slipknot 2021 in the Raleigh area, and I wore my mask. I think I saw Skillet at the Ritz at that point as well. Again, masking up, COVID protocol, and eventually that all waned off. But then you had like nightmare episodes of like the Blue Ridge Festival. You guys remember that? Okay. Then you had documentaries coming out on Netflix like the Fry Festival, which happened much prior to COVID hitting, but that exemplified, as it was on a major network, that exemplified some of the nightmare if you don't plan properly for these things. Blue Ridge Festival gets kind of the spotlight that later on in subsequent years, because that really left fans stranded, and fans were like, this is not worth it. This is absolutely not worth it. I'm stranded out here in the mud. I'm waiting for a bus ride just to get to my car, just to go home. Forget about the festival, right? And that's when things started to come to light, when people realized that these festival events are often poorly managed and poorly put together. I think the last concert kind of touring thing that won an award for its organization was the Mayhem Festival. That was very well put together. And that was, I think the last Mayhem Festival that I went to was in 2014 when I saw Avenged Sevenfold in Washington, D.C. And that after that, it kind of weaned and faded out. The Mayhem Festival did, as I said before. But you began to realize that these are not the most well organized events. And after the first day, kind of like chaos takes over. People are just wandering everywhere. I remember a lot of my Carolina Rebellion shows, I would be in the VIP section where I paid an extra $80 to $100 to be there because it was supposed to be an exclusive area. And I'm sitting there hanging out with people who just jumped the fence and snuck in. This is after the first day. By the time the third day, I can remember episodes where the gate section to the so-called gate section to the VIP section wasn't even being manned or monitored. Right, people were just walking in, walking out, and this is like extra money I paid. I can remember multiple festivals where I would go to, and I was supposed to have VIP parking, paid extra for it. I'm just literally grouped in with the general population. There's no VIP about any of this parking, right? And that was indicative upon trying to exit the vehicle, which took me, an hour and a half to 2 hours. I can remember many nights sitting, trying to wrap up Mayhem and Carolina Rebellion, thinking to myself, why, I paid VIP parking. I'm supposed to be in and out express lane. This is not happening. So, I think you're seeing and ticket sales for the festivals this year, I think if you look it up, are not what they used to be. So my whole point of this discussion, and I'd love to hear your feedback on it, of course, is I'm opening up this inaugural Metalhead Michael episode. Festivals are starting to kind of fall by the wayside. And you're seeing that, I think, in some of the shows that I just mentioned that I'm going to, because of they're booking arenas now. They're booking huge arenas. And if you look up some of those shows and some of those tours, the bands that are playing festivals are few and far between and are one and done kind of events, right? So that's what you're seeing as far as festivals go. You're seeing these one and done type of aspects of festival rock, right? And they're still like 3 days, but they're just one exclusive weekend out in either California. I think Black Sabbath is getting together for one in England, and you're not seeing them tour like they used to by any means from one coast to the next. I can just remember like CNN covering Ozfest, quite frankly, back in the late 90s to early 2000s. It's one of the hottest shows. It's one of the hottest tickets. I can remember that. I can remember members of bands appearing on CNN talking about how this is the hottest show, hottest ticket of the year. And that was in the aspect of Project Revolution as well. And all of those really good festivals that once were. And I think that we're just starting to see that fall, like I said, fall by the wayside and wane away and give way to arena rock. I also think that kind of local level nightclubs are waning away as well. Stuff like the Red Hat Amphitheater locally. I have really never been pleased with Red Hat. If any of y'all live in my area, in my region, Red Hat Amphitheater is small venue. There's no kind of monitoring of tickets, or people are just allowed to kind of freely wander around and meander into seating areas without any kind of like strict regulation or people watching tickets. It turns out to be a nightmare for people like me who actually go to listen to the music and to have a good time. You usually have to deal with a bunch of drunk people who are trying to get into areas that they're not supposed to be. If you bought a nosebleed section, go sit in nosebleed as far as I'm concerned. But I think you're seeing a draw away from that kind of smaller local level venues as well, but more so for the festivals, and they're all giving away to arena rock. And more power to it. I love arena rock. I can remember the days of arena rock for sure. And you have bands like Disturbed, Ghost, Linkin Park. All of those are playing arenas this year, like I mentioned before, and they're selling out. They're selling out. They're so I'd love to hear your feedback from that as far as getting away from these 3-day festivals where fans, especially who are the most significant variable for heavy metal, are realizing that, why spend $1,200 on rooms, lodging for 3 days, close $300 to $500 a day if you want to have a decent time for 3 days. So that's $1,500, $2,000 for just merch and food and drinks. Because once you get into the place, you can't get out, and then travel expenses. It's not worth it anymore, quite frankly. And heavy metal fans are consumers just like anybody else. They're not stupid, right? So, that's my take on that. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. Maybe we can have a discussion about it for sure. Lastly, I got a lot of DMs, and I have had a lot of discussions about Gojira and their win in the Grammys, which I thought was great. I just thought it was great anytime a heavy metal band, hard rock heavy metal band, besides Jethro Tull, wins a Grammy, I think that it is absolutely amazing. Great. I can remember when Ghost won, when Hailstorm won. I was stoked about Hailstorm. Ghost won, I think, in a few years after that. They showed up in full regalia. I love that. I remember when Code Orange showed up at the Grammys. And they were just like, I think Code Orange actually got stopped by security, which I think is great. I just think that it goes to the whole aspect of heavy metal music. You absolutely stop them at security. Let them show their credentials, And they all did. They showed their credentials. They're like, yeah, we got passes to this. I don't know why you're stopping us. We're nominees, for crying out loud. And then Dave Mustaine with Megadeth has been nominated 15, 16 times in a row before he finally won with Dystopia. And everybody kind of knew he was going to win with Dystopia, but I just love to see heavy metal bands represented always at the Grammys, and I think that's great how they have expanded since the Jethro Tull Metallica, episode of sorts, debacle, if you will, whatever you want to refer to it as. Debacle is probably a pretty good word, but I'm wondering how you think about Gojira and winning their Grammy this year, because they won it for their performance at the Olympics. Now let that set in. This is usually where heavy metal bands and so forth kind of creep into the Grammys. They won that award for their performance at the Olympics, which went global, and I'm very proud of that, and I'm very happy for them. But why not give a Grammy to them for their music in general? First time I saw Gojira, I think, was at a Carolina Rebellion, and it was a side stage. They were all dressed in black, and just the kind of the gloomy doom sound that they brought to that whole aspect of that festival at that particular time. I was intrigued. I stood there and just was fascinated by their music. And of course, from there, the rest is history as far as my interest is concerned. I started downloading their stuff, buying their albums, following them a little bit more closely. God, I'm trying to remember what year that was. I can't even remember. But after that, of course, they became hugely popular, and then they had their performance at the opening to the French Olympics in France, I think it was, and that's what they won a Grammy for. But I think that they and not taking anything away from a Grammy or their performance, I was stoked to see that. I was jumping all over my living room when I saw that, and I thought to myself, this is really cool. Sorry, taking another sip of beer. And I thought to myself, this is awesome. Great representation. But that's what they won the Grammy for. And I think that they should have been, you go back and, I just think that they should have won it for their music, their album, overall. Some of their catalog of their music is exceptional. And I love that band. But I'd love to hear your feedback on the winning, the fact that they won that Grammy and how they won it, and if you agree with that or not, and what your feedback is on that. Is just a Grammy, or should they Should their music been represented a little more? Anywho, I think that's about it for this episode. That's all I got written down. It's good food for thought, good topics on my initial inaugural, like I said, Metalhead Michael episode. I appreciate you guys being a part of it, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to keep your horns raised always. Have a good day.